champions, welcome to another interesting lesson with Mr. Olio. I hope last lesson was wonderful and you learned a lot. In this lesson, we'll be looking at a topic known as scientific method. Scientific method. First, we need to know what a scientific method is. Scientific method is an organized way of doing things. An organized way scientists carry out some experiment. It is also a way scientists ask and answer scientific questions. They ask and answer scientific questions. So, before a scientist carry out an experiment, there are some very important steps that scientists must take or ask before taking an experiment, so that the experiment which he or she is going to carry out must be well organized, and get a good result. So let's say the following steps. The first step is question. Scientists ask why. Why am I doing this experiment? Why? What is the reason behind the experiment which he or she is going to carry out? So the questions must be asked. The second step is known as hypothesis. Hypothesis simply means an expected answer for a particular or a specific experiment to be carried out. So the scientists may guess what would be the final results of the experiment. The second step is known as materials. Materials are things a scientist use to carry out an experiment, and they must be in the right amount or in the right quantity. Each substance or materials must be in good shape. So these materials are the things which the scientists will use to carry out the experiment. So that will be the third step a scientist will carry out. The first step is what? Procedure. This simply means how the experiment is done. How is the experiment going to be carried out? For instance, is there going to be an application of heat in the experiment or not? So these are some procedures. The next is known as observation. The next step is observation. Observation simply means what you see, feel, hear, smell, and taste. What a scientist can see or feel in an experiment, observing the results of the experiment, is known as observation. Different experiments have the different observation. Some experiments might have the observation of a sand, or some might be what of a taste. So the scientists observe how the experiment is going to be. The final step a scientist need to carry out in an experiment is known as conclusion. Conclusion simply means the final answer of an experiment, and this is not a guess, is the final result of an experiment. In this step, there is no guessing done. Guessing is not done, because the final result must have but be taken down by the scientists. So those are some steps scientists can take to have a good and organized experiment. The last step is bibliography. Bibliography simply means the source of information. The person carrying out the experiment. So the person name will be written down. So super kids, let's see an experiment, a simple experiment on egg cracking. So the first step, question: what happens when a raw egg hits an hard surface. When a raw egg hits a hard surface. Next step, hypothesis. So I will say, I think it will break. I think it will break. I'm guessing right now. I think it will break. So what are my materials? I need a raw egg, a bowl, or a table. Then procedure. I allow the egg to fall from a height. Then the next step will be my observation. Observation. I heard the crack sound. I heard the crack sound. Then my second observation will be the egg broke. The egg broke. Then what will now be my conclusion? Conclusion will be when a raw egg hits a hard surface, it breaks. That will be my final conclusion. When a raw egg hits a hard surface, it will break. So the last step, which is bibliography, will be what? The source of information. The source of information. Right now, what is the source of information in this experiment is Mr. Ollier. So in the bibliography, I will write Mr. Ollier as the source of the experiment. So this is a simple experiment that helps you to understand the various steps in a scientific method when carrying out an experiment, right? So super kids, it has been a lovely and interesting lesson so far, knowing the various steps in scientific method. Now I will list it one more time. The first step is question. The second step, hypothesis. The third step, materials. The fourth, procedure. The fifth step, observation. The sixth step, conclusion. Then the seventh step, bibliography. So these are the 7 scientific methods when carrying out an experiment. See you guys in the next lesson. Bye bye.